Lasat kundalam gokule brajamana Namam Ishvaram Satchit Ananda Rupa Lasat kundalam gokule brajamana Namam Ishvaram Satchit Lasat kundalam gokule brajamana Namam Ishvaram Sakchit Ananda Rupa Lasat kundalam gokule brajamana Yashoda Viyolu Kalatavamana Param Krishnamacha Katotya Gopya Yashoda Viyolu Rujantam muhurnetra yugmam vijantam Param bhoja yugmena satanka netra Muhu swasakam patri rekanka kanta Stita graiva damodaram bhakti badham Iti driksvalilabhirananda kunde Swaghosam nimajantam akyapayantam Tadi sitang yeshu bhaktarjitatva Puna prema tastam satavriti vande Param deva moksham na mokshavadhim va Nachanyam vineham vare sadapiha Param deva moksham na mokshavadhim va Idam te vapurnata gopala bala Sadame manasya virastam kimanyare Idam te vapurnata gopala bala Pasyantamira Vitam Kuntalai Snigdharaktaischa Gopya Muhuschumbitam bimbarakta de Manasya virastam alam lakshalabhave Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Asida Prabodhuka Jalabhi Magna Kripadristi Vishyati Dinavatano Vihane Shamamagyam Vidyakidesya Veratmajo Bhadha Muchaiva Yadva Vaya Mochito Bhakti Bhajokito Cha Tata prema bhaktim swakam niprayacha Namokshe graho mes dareha Tata prema bhaktim swakam niprayacha Namokshe graho me damodareha Tata prema bhaktim Namaste Studamnes Puraditi Damne Hari Odaraya Tavispasya Damne Namaste Studamnes Puraditi Damne Adi Odaraya Tavispasya Damne Namaste Studamnes Puraditi Damne Adi Namo Radhikaya Tvajya Priyaya Namo Nandaliraya Devaya Tubhya Namo Radhikaya Tvajya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Tvajya Priyaya Namo Nandaliraya Devaya Tubhya Tvajya Priyaya Namo Nanda Hridaya Devaya Tuja. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe. Shri Rai Damodar ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Controller who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokul, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances.
Those who were excellent pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna's deity, drowned the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who are attracted only to his majestic aspects, and I am, the Lord merely revealed, I, after overwhelmed by pure loving devotion to the Supreme Lord God, my obeisance is hundreds and hundreds.
O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakavara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in this same way, and put aside the devotion to your religion.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadam Dadati Swabadantikam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyareva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, The Force of Material Enjoyment. Text number 46, the last verse of the chapter. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This translation says, devotees interested in hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, regularly discuss the pure characteristics of Bharata Maharaj and praise his activities. If one submissively hears and chants about the all-auspicious Maharaj Bharata, one's lifespan and material opulences certainly increase. Fantastic. One can become very famous and easily attain promotion to the heavenly planets. Phantasmagoria. Or attain liberation by merging into the existence of the Lord. If you want. Whatever one desires can be obtained simply by hearing, chanting, and glorifying the activities of Maharaj Bharata. In this way, one can fulfill all his material and spiritual desires. One does not have to ask anyone else for these things, for simply by studying the life of Maharaj Bharata, one can attain all desirable things. So that's called a Palashruti. Palashruti means the fruit of hearing. The Bhagavatam is filled with them. If you hear this, you get this fruit. If you hear that, you get this type of fruit. It's the fruit of hearing, Palashruti. So that's the Palashruti. Whatever you want materially or spiritually can be obtained simply by hearing and chanting about the pastimes of Maharaj Bharata. I wonder if that will sell in the marketplace. Do you think people will buy it? And we tried to tell them, why are you working so hard? So jobs, just hear about Bharata Maharaj. And all you desire, you want a good wife? Okay, hear about Bharata Maharaj. You think it will sell in the marketplace? Probably not, huh? Why not? Oh, no faith. If you have no faith, then what is the result? Mrityu samsara vartmani. You know this verse? Sean, pay attention. Mrityu samsara vartmani. If you're faithless, asharanana purusha, dharmasyasya parantapa, aprapyamam nivartante, mrityu samsara vartmani. If you're faithless in all these things, then what do you get? Mrityu samsara vartmani. You attain the path of repeated birth and death. So they don't have faith in these narrations. They don't have faith in this Palashruti. So what they get? Shine, what they get? Repeated birth and death. That's a fact. So this is Palashruti. Prabhupada's purport is just a summary of the chapter. That's why I paused in between. Because Prabhupada's purport is actually just a summary of the chapter. It's not an explanation of the particular verse. So now we're going to hear a summary of the force of material enjoyment. Here's a summary. The force of material existence is summarized in this 14th chapter. The word bhavatavi refers to the path of material existence. The merchant is the living entity who comes to the force of material existence to try to make money for sense gratification. The six plunderers are the senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, and mind. They plunder the money, and they plunder the intelligence also. The bad leader is diverted intelligence. Intelligence is meant for Krishna consciousness, but due to material existence, we divert all our intelligence to achieve material facilities. They could just use all their intelligence to hear about Bharata Maharaj and gain on these things. Everything belongs to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to our perverted mind and senses, we plunder the property of the Lord and engage in satisfying our senses. The jackals and tigers in the forest are our family members. Anyone attached? And the herbs and creepers are our material desires. The mountain cave is our happy home, and the mosquitoes are serpents. And the mosquitoes and serpents are our enemies. The rats, beasts, and vultures are different types of thieves who take away our possessions. And the Gandharvapura is the phantasmagoria of the body and home. You know what is Gandharvapura? City of Gandharva. Speculating. You know what is Gandharvapura? That is a better answer than him. He said he speculated. You said I don't know. That is a better answer. You know what is Gandharvapura? No, Gandharvapura. You know. Like that. An illusory city in the sky, like a sky flower. Or Gandharvapura actually refers to a palace you see in a forest. Just like someone in the desert might see a mirage of water. So similarly, someone in the forest being bewildered and frightened might see an illusion of a palace in the forest and then go chasing after that palace or home that they see in the forest. It's called the Gandharvapura. Understand? Gandharvapura. So the Gandharvapura is the phantasmagoria of the body and home. Now it makes sense, right? Gandharvapura. The will o' the wisp is our attraction for gold and its color. And material resonance and wealth are the ingredients for our material enjoyment. The whirlwind is our attraction for our wife. And the dust storm is our blinding passion experienced during sex. The demigods control the different directions, and the cricket is the harsh words spoken by our enemy during our absence. Have you ever had the experience of being kept awake by a cricket? Did you ever have the experience? Do you not appreciate this thing? You ever had that experience of being kept awake by a cricket sound? No, anyone has? No? You had that experience? I had it recently, like 5 months ago. There was one cricket in the windowsill, and all I kept hearing was this loud click sound. It was just one. So, like a lot of crickets in the distance kind of sounds nice, but it was just one cricket in the windowsill, and it just makes this loud click, so like click, like a really loud click. And I was like, what? At first I was trying to sleep, but it was annoying because it was coming every few seconds. So finally I went to investigate what's going on here. And then I saw that there was a cricket in the windowsill. And it was, the way he was situated was perfect because I couldn't really get to him. It was very obnoxious. I couldn't sleep. So finally I tried to just tolerate. Just learn how to tolerate, but I couldn't sleep. So finally I got some tool and was sticking it inside the windowsill, and then he flew off. He jumped to another building. They have really good hops. They can like partially fly. So the harsh words spoken by our enemies during absence, they're compared to crickets, because the sound is actually very harsh. The sound of one of them, very nearby, is actually a very harsh sound. It's very disturbing to the mind. The owl is a person who directly insults us. So the cricket is one who insults us behind our back, and the owl is more courageous. He just insults you to the face. And the impious trees are impious men. The waterless river represents atheists who give us trouble in this world and the next. The meat-eating demons are the government officials, and the pricking thorns are the impediments of material life. The little taste experienced in sex is our desire to enjoy another's wife, and the flies are the guardians of women, like the husband, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and so forth. The creeper itself is women in general. The lion is the wheel of time, and the herons, crows, and vultures are so-called demigods, pseudo-swamis, yogis, and incarnations. All of these are too insignificant to give one relief. The swans are the perfect brahmanas, and the monkeys are the extravagant shudras engaged in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The trees of the monkeys are our households, and the elephant is ultimate death. Thus, all the constituents of material existence are described in this chapter. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Material World as a Great Forest of Enjoyment. Any questions? That's the summary. Anyone? What time is it? 8, really? Any questions about the forest of material existence? You can go back and read it. This is, after all, a synopsis of the chapter, so you can just go and see what is the owl. I don't remember the description. I may not have been here because I missed several verses of this chapter. So this is a synopsis. You go back and read about what the owl is. I mean, the essence is very simple. The material world is a place of suffering. Don't try to make your home here. That's the simple concept, because the living entity is griha vritanam. Isn't it? You know what this word means? Griha vritanam? Shan. Griha vritanam. You know? What is the griha vritanam? Griha vrata. Guessing. vow. And what is griha? Home. So Prabhupada describes it in one lecture that those who make a vow to make this material world their home, and that's their mentality, grihavartana, as if made a vow that I'm going to live here forever. He's grihavartanam, adanta gobir vishutam to mishram puna punashcharvita charvananam. Isn't it? Showing the truth. Due to unbridled mind and senses, he's chewing that which has already been chewed, like ABC gum. You heard this type of gum? Gum, you know what is gum? ABC gum. Sometimes when we were in high school, we would, someone would have gum, they would be chewing it in class and not sharing with anyone. So naturally we get envious, you know. It smells very fragrant in the beginning. It's like, can I get a piece? And then our friend would say, I only have ABC gum. I'll take anything, because we're desperate. ABC means already been chewed. So then they would take the nasty thing out of their mouth and offer it to you. And then you become thoroughly disgusted. So, puna charvita charvananam, chewing that which has already been chewed, on account of being determined to make this material world a very comfortable place and do the uncontrolled mind and senses. Can such a person become Krishna conscious? What is the answer? Huh? No. In this particular verse, Prahlad Maharaj said, no. Matirna Krishna parata sotova mito abhipadyeta grihavartanam. For persons who are grihavartanam, then they cannot become Krishna conscious by their own effort, by the efforts of others, or by a combination of both. Of course, naishamatis tava arukramangrim. Speshartanartha apakamo ya artha mahiya shampala rajo bhishekam niskinchanana navernita yavat. Of course, if they get the association of pure Vaishnava, then there's some hope. If they can bathe their mati means their intelligence or their consciousness, in the foot dust of pure Vaishnavas, then all obstacles can be destroyed. Otherwise, they cannot become Krishna conscious. So the idea here is that most of the conditioned souls are grihavartana. So the idea of the chapter is just to express in poetic way the various obstacles in trying to do so, to show that it's actually impossible. And of course, if you're interested in a particular aspect of impediment, then you can always study this chapter. But the essence should be understood, of course, that the material world is not our home. Is there any other question, comment? Yeah, okay.
I was wondering, you hear that the conditioned soul at a certain point realizes the suffering and returns to the spiritual life. If he's lucky. But it's like out of a sense of frustration, or let's say discouragement, disappointment.
Yeah.
So that
if he turns to God, that's pretty good. That's better.
That is kind of what we carry with us into the pursuit of spiritual life, is like we're frustrated with trying to be happy in the material world.
That's so pretty good.
I'm wondering, at what point does that motivation become like a higher or like a transcendental motivation? Like, is it the frustration that is continuing to motivate one, or is it at a certain point that he's no longer frustrated and he's got some other motivation impelling him in spiritual life?
It's simple. Frustration does not long endure in the conditioned souls, if you haven't noticed. As soon as there's a comfortable situation or a little bit of relief, then the mind jumps back to material existence. So that is not a strong enough impetus for spiritual life, for continued spiritual life. Although it is a good compelling force for the intellect. But for the heart, that's not a very good compelling point. For the heart, ruchi is required. And ruchi becomes the all-powerful and impelling taste for going all the way back home, back to Godhead. But in the beginning, intelligence is so important for all the souls their intelligence. They need good intelligence for applying spiritual life in the beginning, for applying the vidis and nishedas, and analyzing material existence and intellectually becoming detached from it. So frustration is very useful for helping the intelligence become a little sober and directing the mind and heart towards Krishna. But the impelling force for the heart has to be ruchi, as Prabhupada has described in the Paramdrishta Nivartate verse of the Bhagavad Gita, that a person who has a disease, he may be restricted from certain eatables, but he neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for those eatables. So he may not be taking them. That's intelligence, because he knows if I take them, I'll die. So he's got some brain substance, but he still has attraction for those things. And he doesn't like the restrictions also. He just knows that it's good for him because he's got some brain substance. But that's not a strong enough impelling force for carrying one all the way through. And it doesn't usually. It carries one through all the way, through the anarshana vritti. Then at Nishtha, one actually becomes absorbed in the various activities of Krishna consciousness. Nishtha is the stage of a very absorbed mind in the activities of Krishna consciousness. And shortly thereafter, there's taste, and taste is the all-impelling force, bringing us all the way to the lotus feet of Krishna. We always have to, by force or by just being a contemplative devotee, reevaluate our purpose for coming. That takes place naturally, either by force of circumstance, where, I came because I'm suffering, but now I'm relieved of my suffering, and I'm starting to find fault with everything around me. So why am I here? So he's forced into a situation to reevaluate. Or if he's just a thoughtful, contemplative devotee, then he might do that on his own, to reevaluate what is the purpose of his participating in this Krishna conscious movement. So frustration is a good impetus in the beginning. But for pure devotion, that can be the main. For pure devotion, that can be the main impetus, if an impetus at all. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, what is that verse? Chaturvida bhajante mam, jana sukritinor arjuna. Alto, jignasu ratarti gani icha bharatarshava. You know this verse? 4 types of jivas come to Krishna if they're sufficiently pious. Sukritina. Sukritina means the piety gained from association with sadhus, previous life, described like that. They're sufficiently pious, Sukritina, they have sufficient devotional Sukriti, Nitya Sukriti, eternal devotional points in their account. Then they will come to Krishna out of 4 reasons. What are the 4 reasons? Arto, distress. Jignasu, curious. Atarti, they want some, or wife, or something like that. Something material remuneration. Gani, hardly to be found in Kali Yuga. Someone who wants knowledge of the absolute truth. These 4 types are considered to be not even on the Kanishta Adhikar platform of pure devotional sadhana and the presentation of the nectar of devotion, because these persons have yet to awaken pure devotional faith. They're just coming to Krishna because of frustration, material remuneration, inquisitiveness, or the knowledge of the absolute, but because they lack the pure devotional shraddha, then they're not even considered in the realm of pure devotion yet. Of course, by the association of sadhus, by the association of Krishna, they develop shraddha, then they are counted within the realm of pure devotional service. So who's the example for Arto? Who's the example? Gajendra. Gajendra prayed to the Supreme Lord. He and transformed his desire, seek out into the realm of pure devotion. And Jignasu, Shaunaka Rishi and the sages, they associated with Sutta Goswami. And first canto, 18th chapter has the most beautiful exchange between Sutta and Shaunaka Rishi. Them glorifying Shaunaka Rishi, or the Shaunaka Rishi and the sages glorifying Sutta for saving them from the waste of time of dry ritualistic yajnas, which are only making their faces black. But now you're coming down to shower the nectar, the topics of Lord Govinda upon us. And then this verse comes in this context. Tulayama lave napi, na swarga na punarbhavam, bhagavat sangi sangasya, martayanam kemutashisha. The sages are saying this to Sutta Goswami, that even by moments of association with such a Bhagavat Sangi like you, it's implied, then that is more special, more exalted than the attainment of Swarga Loka or the attainment of liberation itself, what to speak of material things. So it's a very sweet exchange. Why? Because they associated with Sutta Goswami, they got into the realm of pure devotion. Then who's the example for Atarti? Dhruva Maharaj. He got the association of Narada Muni, got into the realm of pure devotional service. And Gyani, the Kumaras, they associated with Tulsi. And when they smelled the fragrance of the Tulsi leaf emanating from the feet of Lord Vishnu. And that way, the pure devotion came into their heart. So in other words, distress is not a strong enough impelling force for pure devotional service. We need pure devotional faith. That gets us into the realm of Kanishthadikar, at least, in the pure devotional service. Practice, of course. Any other questions, comments? Yes, bro.
Compared to the renunciation of one at the crematorium. He becomes frustrated. He said, "What's the value of all this?" But then by the time he gets home, he forgets. And he starts looking for
And he sees the value again.
Yes. He started, maybe there is something there. So that's why it's Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadikai. If one's very lucky after wandering through ups and downs through samsara, that one receives the seed of bhakti from the spiritual master Krishna, by the grace of the spiritual master Krishna.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that in this verse how the Shruti, that if you hear about the activities of Maharaj Bharat, that one is able to achieve so many things. But if you hear about the activities of Bharat Maharaj, you won't want most of those things.
That's the trick, huh? Yeah, this comes up in the Nectar of Devotion also when it says by doing Vaidhi Bhakti, it gives you, there's a Palashruti there, and it gives a long list of material gains just by doing this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And then the second verse gives the main gain, which is love of God. But the first thing is this list of glorious material achievements. And Rupa Goswami, of course, explains that is to trick the living entities into taking it up, so to speak. So that they actually, because by doing so, you become detached from matter. Somehow or other, Yena Kena Pakarena, Mana Krishna Sevaya, the principle of preaching Krishna consciousness is somehow or other get people attached to Krishna or connected to Krishna. Introduce all the details later, but somehow they just get them attached to it. This is the principle of preaching. Prabhupada said this is the principle of a preacher, especially, of course, in the Western world. Somehow they get them attached to Krishna, association with Krishna, Krishna Prasadam, the books, somehow or other. And then later on, one will introduce so many things for their further. So that's just a tip for all those preachers out there. Anything else? Okay, so Dart, you want to say something?
I was thinking about something I just read, that coming close to Krishna is outside the regulations of karma. So then, through the process of bhajan kriya and artha nivritti, one's karmic reactions slowly burn away. And hearing what you were explaining to Luparu about coming to the pure devotional faith, I was just thinking in my mind, like, does one's karmic reactions have to be completely burnt away before he comes to that stage, or it's like simultaneous. As you're coming closer to Krishna, your pure devotional faith is increasing, and your karmic reactions is slowly getting burnt away.
Yeah, both statements are true that you said. It sounded like to me. Maybe I missed one. No one has to be free from karmic reactions to have pure devotional faith. Otherwise, only the Mayavadis could have pure devotional, or not Mayavadis, they're demons. Or sorry to say. The Brahmavadis are genuine impersonalists. We make a distinction between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi. Mayavadis, we say, are the demons, asuras. But the Brahmavadis are genuine impersonalists. They have genuine realization of the Brahman feature. If it were the case that you had to be free from karma in order to have pure devotional faith, only the Brahmavadis would be able to come into that realm. You need pure devotional sangha to get pure devotional faith. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bija. Bhakti Lata Bija refers to pure devotional shraddha as given by the bona fide Guru. So one need only sadhu sangha, and then as they advance, karmic stuff gets exhausted, and Shreya Kairiva Chandrika Taranam, then the blossom of the white lotus of good fortune takes place in the heart. They become pure devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, so one lifetime or 100 years in this world is like several trillion years, or what do I say? Several trillion years here is just like one lifetime of Brahma, right?
Okay.
So even if someone spends millions of lifetimes here, that might be less than a moment in the spiritual world, right?
Okay.
So it seems that, so what is the point of preaching or trying so hard to go to the spiritual world? It's just a moment anyways. I mean, 1 million lifetimes here or there. I mean, why is it stressed that it's a huge thing?
What is a huge thing? Preaching
No,
or trying to get out?
Yeah, spending 1 million more lifetimes.
Well, tell
here.
that to all the suffering living entities in this material world.
But that's only a moment.
Tell that to the suffering living entities in the mature world who don't experience it as a moment, but experience it rather as 80 years one lifetime, 80 years another lifetime, 80 years another lifetime. We're not experiencing it as a moment. So let's go and give that message to all these victims of rape and genocide and so on. After all, this is just less than a moment in the spiritual world. Don't worry, it'll be over soon. Sounds like a very beautiful, compassionate message, doesn't it?
It does seem to me.
Does it seem like a compassionate message? Would you speak that to someone who's suffering all these atrocities in the material world? That don't worry, it's just less than a moment.
I mean, people get agitated even if we speak the concept of reincarnation. If someone is dead, if you tell them, hey, anyways, he's going to be reincarnated, there are people
So
who get
then
agitated. But fact is
we
fact.
would ask the question: Krishna is the perfect preacher. Does he preach in this way? So we are followers of the Supreme Lord and the acharyas. Do they preach in this way? So we have to see what is a line of thought coming down from the Supreme Lord through the Parampara. Yesterday we had an interesting conversation with one young man who's influenced by the Ritvik understanding of Krishna consciousness. Anyway, we asked him to present some evidence from Srila Prabhupada's books, which he sent to me last night at about 1:20 in the morning, because he was here until about 10:30 at night. There was a very, as my brother called it, a round one, round two, round three discussion. He sent various quotes to me, so I wrote him back also briefly. Not at 1:20 in the morning, I was asleep, but I saw his mail upon rising in the morning, because I have to check my phone to see what time it is, and I get the mail, so I saw it. So I sent a short reply, and I asked a simple question to him: have you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books? Because everyone's always harping on the idea that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. And so I posed the question: have you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books? Because I know I did that in the first 10 months of my Krishna consciousness. because I saw so many ideas coming from devotees surrounding me on all sides. It's greatly confusing. So I said, why don't I just read Prabhupada's books myself? And since everything is there, it should be pretty self-evident. What is the teaching? Prabhupada, of course, presented to persons who are not very learned, so he knew how to present it in a way that it would be effective, so we get the point. So why didn't I just read Prabhupada's books? So I asked the question, have you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books? And if the answer is no, which I know the answer is no, because he already told me. If the answer is no, then you indirectly or inadvertently prove the principle of Guru Tattva as an eternal principle, because you've not actually read Prabhupada's books, but rather have heard from someone what is the teaching. So by having not actually read all of Srila Prabhupada's books, what to speak of thoroughly understanding them, you have inadvertently proven that the Guru principle is actually eternal. And it cannot be avoided at any cost, because you simply have heard from someone what is the teaching, and they've just quoted some various things without him knowing the context or anything. So you've actually inadvertently proved that the Guru Tattva is actually an eternal truth that cannot be avoided. And I mentioned to him, just like Prabhupada would criticize Krishnamurti, who would come and say that there is no, you need no teacher. And Prabhupada says, so why has he come to teach? Thus proving that you can't avoid the principle of Guru Tattva. It is eternally existent. That's the unique thing about Tattva, is that it's eternal. So although there may be various ideas that can't be avoided at any point. So, and then in the case where there are contradictory statements of Prabhupada, how do you reconcile them? So then the principle of Guru Tattva comes up again. So it's completely unavoidable, especially for a person who's never even read thoroughly through Prabhupada's books. So then he had made a point to us last night about, I said, Mahaprabhu gave simple definition of Guru. Ye Krishna Tattvaveta, say Guru hoy. So he explained that this means you can become a Shiksha Guru, but you cannot become a Diksha Guru. I said, this is a self-defeating argument. Because number one, the Shiksha Gurus and the Diksha Gurus are on the same transcendental platform. So it's actually a self-defeating. It's not to say that the Diksha Guru is more transcendental than the Shiksha Guru. And also in Prabhupada's teachings, and I sent him all the various quotes that I just knew off the top of my head, what to speak of doing a thorough research. And the Adi Lila, chapter 1, Prabhupada says that the Shiksha, one who gives Shiksha generally becomes the Diksha Guru. Generally, that is the process. So that is a self-defeating argument. And I just said, for your information, Prabhupada mentions in the verse I sent from the purport that this word guru in this verse, Jai Krishna Tattvaveda Sai Guru Hoy, refers to the Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Vartma Pradarshaka Guru, and all such gurus. It doesn't just refer to the Shiksha Guru. So I said it's clear, it might do your intellect very good to bathe in Srila Prabhupada's teachings directly. Because it seems to me that you might be misled by some unbona fide gurus. Seems how you can't avoid the principle of Guru after all, having not even read Srila Prabhupada's books. So my main point to him last night, which he was not accepting so much because of the passion of the heated discussion, is that we have to see the line of thought coming from Krishna through Parampara. What is the line of thought? Especially when we might find apparent contradictions in Srila Prabhupada's books, or apparent contradictions in the presentation of devotees of Prabhupada's teachings, then the only way it can be reconciled is by looking to Shastra and previous acharyas, going all the way up to Krishna. What is the line of thought coming down, since the line of thought never changes? Only the details may change according to time, place, circumstance, but the line of thought doesn't change. The ideal doesn't change. So your particular statement is interesting, but we don't find such a line of preaching from Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, the Guru Parampara, or Srila Prabhupada himself. So therefore, we cannot accept that method of preaching to the conditioned souls. Rather, the message that Prabhupada always seemed to give us is that we should be very enthusiastic to go back home, back to Godhead. That was the idea that Prabhupada normally conveyed. And as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we would like to convey the same sense of urgency to the extent of our realization and capacity to do so. We must always see what is a line of thought coming down. We should not concoct any new methods. Are there any other questions? Okay. I ended class at 7:50. But the questions and answers came out. I don't know how that happened. I'm getting good. I'm in my pretty focus before 8.
In regard to Prabhu's point about if it's just a moment in the life of Lord Brahma, then
Yeah.
and eventually we're going to be liberated anyway, then why take up the process? I heard someone ask that of His Holiness Sridhar Maharaj in a class in Los Angeles recently. And he said, well, if a kid knows that my mother's going to come and stop me eventually anyway, why don't I just sit here and keep banging myself bloody over the head with a stick? If my mother's going to stop me anyway, it doesn't make sense. If you're making yourself bloody and you're suffering, then stop.
That's a compelling reply. You like that one? I like that one. Anyway, my mother will stop me eventually. Hopefully, I'm not dead by the time she comes.
This is a follow-up from a previous discussion we were having on frustration as a motive for taking spiritual life. When we see transcendentally situated persons apparently expressing frustration or maybe like repentance or expressing humility, what's actually going on?
You have to ask them. We have to understand there's a gulf, a huge gulf of difference between understanding objective world and subjective reality. The only access to subjective reality is by a personal connection or yoga with that subject. You have to inquire from them, or it has to be revealed to you by the subject. Otherwise, we're just left to our mental speculations. So to Colette, she had sent me a whole series of other questions. So I said, there might be something fundamentally wrong about your approach toward the spiritual. And that fundamentally flawed approach is that you're considering the subjective reality to be like the objective world. So in the objective world, you can just take an empirical approach and try to analyze it. And you can come to some incomplete knowledge at best of what's going on in the objective world as they have. And therefore their theories are constantly changing and so on. But when you're dealing with a subjective reality or a subject or an actual conscious entity, the same approach is rendered completely ineffective. Now you may be able to objectively understand certain types of behaviors and patterns. Like for example, if a hammer falls on the foot of someone, then on the pure devotee and also on the materialistic person, they might grimace. But that's not the extent of subjective experience, just a grimacing face. There can be so many things going on within. For example, if the hammer's, let's say, if a common materialistic person, if the child drops the hammer on their foot, then the subjective experience is different from someone who's an enemy who does it. So just to say that the grimacing face is the extent of subjective experience is foolishness. The only way you can actually know it is if the subject reveals it to you. So such a question like that, what's actually going on, we would have to ask the subject. It can be different for different entities depending on the extent of awareness of Krishna. So for those who are neophytes and just pure imitationists, then they're having one thing is going on, and for those who are pure devotees, another thing is going on. And the only way we can know is by asking, and then that too, you can't really know. That's another interesting thing about subjective reality. They can only try to tell you something. You can't really know what it is until you have your own subjective experience. Just like trying to explain to someone the prasadam, how it tastes. How do you get them to understand your experience? You can give them some words. It's good. It's like you can start speaking poetry. That can only help to indicate what it might do to encourage us to taste it for ourselves. But it can never tell us what that person is actually experiencing. So that's the unique thing about subjective reality. It's completely intangible. It's completely metaphysical. It can't be captured by empiricism. Therefore, we are to gane prayasamudapashya namante eva. Abandon this process of speculating and simply submit ourselves humbly to the revelation that is coming from the Lord and his pure devotees. And that revelation will help us to apply the process of connection, that's called yoga, by which we can gain the subjective experience directly, pratyaksha, avagaman, direct experience can be gained.
Just remembering, you had mentioned, not I think in a Bhagavatam class, but a phrase from Srila Prabhupada that a pure devotee is always repenting.
As always, sorry.
Always repenting something or
That
other.
comes in the 6th canto in the Ajamil section. He always repents his something to the effect of sinful activities committed, and either before full attainment, but he's always remembering and repenting his sinful activities, something to that effect. That happens to the gross materialists too. Incidentally, and they call it manic depression. So that's my point, that you can never understand how that is functioning in a pure devotee until you're really endowed with such devotion yourself. Otherwise, we might try to imitate that and become deeply in the mode of ignorance. So, like I said, Shastra, therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's teaching about Shastra having two faces, a transcendental face available to those who are situated in pure devotion, and the deluding face available to those who are not so advanced in their awareness of Krishna. And therefore, the need for Guru Tattva again arises on account of this point, so that they have to give guidance on how to make step-by-step progress according to the individuals and so on. That's how, Guru Tattva is unavoidable. It just comes up in so many ways. It's really agitating if you really want to stick to the Krishna idea. There's only one pure person, and everything will be obtained. When you consider all of the teachings of the acharyas, of the shastras, then this Guru Tattva is coming up too much to disregard it.
The third offense to the holy name is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. And based on what you explained from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm wondering now, like, suppose your Vartman Pradakshina Guru or Shiksha Guru tells you something, you don't do it, then that's also considered nama.
No, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Vartman Pradakshina Guru is not exactly a committed relationship, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport also in Anilita. He's one who introduces us to Krishna consciousness. Like for Bilva Mangala Thakur, Chintamani, who was a prostitute. And for many devotees, it was persons who weren't even following the principles of Krishna consciousness that introduced us to Krishna consciousness. We were hearing a very funny story yesterday about that. The devotee who introduced me to Krishna consciousness, kind of inadvertently, he was also not following the principles, but he would be considered as a Vardhan Pradashika Guru in a very general sense. And then one who may give information to you in a general way, but without any commitment. That's a little bit different. But when you say disobey the order of the Guru, it refers to Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, because those are actually more committed relationships. Shiksha means they're giving specific guidance to individuals. And that Shiksha may be coming from a Diksha Guru also. So that's a more committed, it's a little bit different from Vardhan Pradashika. And of course, yes, if we accept and we disobey, then aparad, namaparad. And according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that's the heaviest namaparad that can be committed. To think that the Guru is ordinary and thus become negligent on account of that. So in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's opinion, that's the heaviest one. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he liked to put the Guru Tattva in your face. Probably any presentation he did, it would somehow get drawn to that point in the most heavy sort of way and unambiguous. Therefore, sometimes he's referred to as the Guru Tattva Acharya also, on account of that.
That I'm looking for like an escape clause or something, but are there, like, okay, simple example, like your spiritual master might tell you, listen, you should always be on time for things, or you should be 5 minutes early, but the devotee is just, he's always late, you know. So then he might think, well, it's not such a serious offense. Like,
Yeah, that is negligence. That is in fact what it is. That's how it begins. If we can't take seriously the smaller things, then the bigger things will ultimately go too. Just like they say, deviation starts with like It's gonna be like a small crack in the roof. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it's neglected, and then it becomes the roof falling in at some point. So the small things are, if that will be the consideration of the disciple, it is a fact circumstances come up. But that doesn't mean that is the consideration of the disciple. Therefore, it's not such a big deal. He would not think in that way. Then that is exactly the fact that it's the offense is coming into the heart. That, oh, Guru's an ordinary person. It's not really that big of a deal. Accepting Guru means to understand that Krishna is directly addressing me. That's what Prabhupada teaches in the Adi Lila, chapter 1, which is the chapter about the spiritual master. One will have that vision of his Guru, that this is Krishna directly speaking to me. So ultimately, to be having that attitude towards Guru is to have that attitude towards Krishna himself, which constitutes an offense to the holy name of Krishna, which makes it hard to. Therefore, this statement, Bahu Janma, Yadakari, Shavanan Kirtan, Tabutana Paya Krishna, Padar Premadan. Millions of lives passing by, hearing and chanting, but not getting the fruit of prema, which is the goal of that hearing and chanting. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He wanted to meet you after he